Heyo everybody, and welcome to HaQ&A 55. So yeah, we're going to be talking about, discussing things that you guys have said in the comments and whatever, and it feels like forever since I've done a HaQ&A, even though it was only last week. I guess because last week's was kind of like, I don't know, I guess it was still good, normal, whatever, but I don't know, I just wasn't all the way caught up with comments and stuff, and I finally got essentially caught up with comments. So yeah, let's talk about some comments this week, starting off with just some general stuff to talk about. Golden Week is incoming, so I doubt we'll be having One Piece stuff leaking tomorrow as usual, or, well, I'm going to post this on Thursday, so today when you're watching it. So yeah, no One Piece stuff there, so been thinking about my special videos coming up. So sometime this week, I think, since there's going to be no One Piece, I'm not sure what anime may be canceled this weekend or what may be canceled next week. So yeah, because of that, I'm going to be preparing my Urara Meirocho review, like a series review for it, and I'll be posting that sometime this weekend maybe. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And then right after that, whenever I have time again for the next one, I'll be doing my top Manmusu waifu video. Since we finally have the, since A, I finally have time, and B, we finally have the name and info and everything for Kyuri, so I feel like we're pretty stable where we're set right now with characters. The only thing I do still want to find out if those 3 Bloodsucker trio girls have names. If they do, I'll add them into the list. If not, I'll question it. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'll work on that. I'll ask the translator if I'll ask the translator tonight if he can just tweet Okiato or something and ask. But yeah, talking about real quick, I've got like 2 general comments on just anime that it didn't fit anywhere else. So I was like, okay, put them in the general comments. So let's talk about those 2. But before I talk about those 2, for the bonus thing, I couldn't really think of anything decent this week to do, and I didn't want to just throw something crappy together, because it's like all the ideas I had were stuff I either want to make a full video on, or stuff that I'm like, it'd be kind of forcing it to just make myself talk about this when I don't really have any decent thoughts. So, yeah. Also, it seems like YouTube is and has been in kind of a, like, crap situation. I'm sure you all either know or don't care about how things have been. Like, but for me, it was the craziest thing, just real quick, probably less than a minute, given some personal experience. So, like, out of nowhere, one day I was getting, like, usually maybe 300 to 500 views a day. Okay, and of course, with me, it's not about the views or anything, but when something weird happens, you're always like, what happened? But like out of nowhere, from day to day, it's like 500 views a day, 500 views a day, then bam, like barely 100. And I was like, oh, did I do something? Did I do something wrong? What happened? And then bam, the next day struggled to get to 100. And I'm like, what on earth? I've had days where I didn't even post a new video because I was working on stuff for like later videos, and I still got 300 some that day. And I'm like, what on earth is happening? And then out of nowhere, it seems like it's built back up the past few days, but I was like, what happened those 2 or 3 days? Why did I just suddenly like get crapped on? Probably YouTube. But yeah, let's talk about these 2 anime really quick that I got comments for. Akemi Homura said talking about Demi-chan wa Kitaritai, I thought this was a nice experience. It only had sexual fan service for a purpose. The characters were interesting. We had an adult male lead, so we didn't have to put up with immature nonsense, which doesn't even make sense for an actual high school age human. This is definitely worth a watch for fans of non-human girls who like cute things with some self-respect. Specific thoughts that I had: I wonder how the demis are born. The vampire was born to a family of humans for reasons no one explained. The snow woman's body is so cold making love with her would probably be uncomfortable. And the Dillahan, what came out first, the head or the body? It was weird how people rarely acted surprised when a Dillahan was walking in public. It started with a teacher saying how rare they were and that he'd never seen a demi despite wanting to, so you'd think the general population would take pictures or at least stare, but it never happens. I agree at the beginning. I like that it barely had any fan service at all, really, compared to anime in general. Barely had any fan service. Also, I'm happy with Tetsuo as the main character. I'm constantly relieved and so happy that he did not fall into the sketchy route of falling in love with his students, because that would have put a real damper on the series for me, just because of how sketchy it is. Yeah. Also, with them being born and what their existence is, it was explained, but compared to some other series that do the whole extra species people thing, it wasn't exactly the most. I find scientific a hard word to attribute to it, but it wasn't the most scientific or logical reason. But apparently, demis are just born randomly into the population, so their families are human and everything. It's like a random, just I don't know, just a random mutation or whatever. And it's not even set up to be like a random mutation evolution type thing. It's just, no, it's happened throughout history. They're just randomly born into the human population. So yeah, I guess that is how it's explained. And like I said, not that solid. And for me also, when it comes to the public stuff, I feel like on one hand, I am glad they didn't dive too deep into the demi-racism or extra species racism type stuff, because so many series that deal with this kind of thing have done that, and they've done it a lot, and they've probably done it more well than this series would probably handle it. So it's an obvious storyline that they didn't really need to do. So on the one hand, I'm glad they didn't do it, but on the other hand, society's acceptance of them did seem a bit easy. But I feel like I don't know. It's sort of like when there's like one or two of somebody that's different or something, people seem to be more accepting of them. Like, say, a school had one or two, like, say it was like an all one race school or all just non-trans school, just trying to compare it to stuff in real life, and it had maybe one or two students that were a different race or trans or whatever. I feel like they would be more accepting than if it was something like 5 to 10%, because then 5 to 10%, it's like they start this sort of this segregation starts sort of happening when it gets to like a minority, but a larger number of a minority than just a handful. So that, I think, may have something to do with it. I doubt even the writer thought that deeply into it. But yeah, society's acceptance might be like that. It's like, if you only see one or two Dillahans or vampires and stuff, I mean, you're probably like, oh, that's kind of different, but I mean, I just saw a different person, cool. But if it's like 5 to 10% of the population are vampires, then people start getting worried about, oh crap, vampire fear-mongering. So, yeah, at least that's how I kind of see that going. But yeah. Basically, I'm glad they didn't go through with that storyline, but not addressing it pretty much at all seemed a little bit easy. Andrea Zapita said, next, I didn't expect much from, talking about Kimono Friends, I didn't expect much from this anime since I wasn't even going to continue watching it after the first episode, but I think the fact that so many people talked about it made me more curious and I ended up loving it a lot. I mean, it could have been terrible, but somehow it was really cute and charming. It made me smile all the time, and I even almost shed tears in episode 11. I really hope we get another season, or if they make a movie, I would totally go to the movie theaters to watch it. And for me, I've continued to grow to love it more and more. Like, I always go to the Kimono Friends Reddit, I always go to Donboro or Pixiv and look at all the new artwork and stuff every day. And it's like, I've really, really gotten into this series. And I think just the fandom of it has made me continue to grow to love it more and more because, like, I enjoy the show. I enjoy all the little fan-made comics and fan art and everything. All the fan-made content, all the memes, everything. I really respect what the production did. And between respecting production, the fan-made content, and the actual enjoyment of the show, it may have become like a big series that I've really gotten into. Like one of my, it's not one of the all-time best I've seen, but one of my all-time favorites personally, just because the story behind it and everything is great. And they responded, I couldn't agree more with you. They did a wonderful job with the very limited things they had, yet since they seem to be having a lot of fun doing it, I guess that's why we also enjoyed seeing it, by seeing them have a lot of fun. What I mean is that we all had fun with the show, the audience and the producers, so that's why we all ended up enjoying it so much. Agreed. It was, man, Kimono Friends is just such a masterpiece. You should, if you guys are watching and you haven't seen Kimono Friends, go watch it. Even if you watch the first episode and think, oh my god, what is this? This is terrible. Keep watching it. Just trust me, you will enjoy this. Yeah, I guess that's it for the general comments. Next up, I'll move into Boku no Hero Academia. Alright, so sadly only one comment in the Boku no Hero Academia section this week, but I mean, hey, at least there is some Boku no Hero Academia discussion to be had. I always try to say Yodosuya whenever I see the name. White Bear Beppo said, Mei's Japanese voice certainly does come off as weird at first, but when I think about it, it's a really great fit. Mei is an oddball and a genius, and people of that nature, through my own experience, seem to have a less than normal way about them, which is the voice. The English dub of Mei's voice is super excellent too. It's normalized a bit, but she has that enthusiasm to her. She still has that enthusiasm to her. For me, personally, I actually, because I don't know if I've done it for every episode, but I've gone back for some after watching it in Japanese, and I've actually watched the dub for some of the simulcast stuff that's been going on with Boku no Hero Academia Season 2. And I actually like Mei's English voice. The dub's doing pretty well in general. I even think that Mei's English voice, to me, in my personal opinion, fits her more than her Japanese voice. And it's not even that I think her voice is bad or that I don't like it in Japanese, because when it comes to liking it, I mean, I'm pretty neutral. It's just her voice. But I definitely don't think it's bad. When I see the physical appearance of the character and then I hear the voice, it's just the voice isn't really what I imagine when seeing her, so there's that bit of dissonance there. And yeah, that is actually it already for the Boku no Hero Academia discussion. Next up, we have a Monmusu Monster Musume no Uru Nichijou comment, and Seek210 said, I can't wait till we have a new chapter for Monster Musume and get to see more of Kyuri. Hopefully she'll join the cast as a permanent character. Now, I also can't wait till we have another chapter of Monmusu, because it's one of my favorite manga ever. See, for me, I thought that Kyuri, like you said, I was kind of thinking that she could potentially be one of the new main girls and move in with Kurus, but sadly that is not the case, because Okayado put out a side story in the volume release about Kyuri moving in with the Leech, the Mosquito, and the Lamprey, all who I hope have names, and I hope to find out those names at some point. And the four of them all moved in together. Hopefully, though, that means that the four of them will be recurring characters like Draco or Lilith or any of the any of the other recurring characters. I hope that those four can show up from time to time, because I liked all four of them. The Mosquito, one of my favorite designs. I think the Leech is pretty hilarious as well, and I've come to like her even more. And Kyuri was a great character. That's why I was like, if she joined the main actual household, I would not mind at all seeing her in a main character position, just because I thought it was a really good character. So I really hope the four will recur. And also, I left a link to the English special omake, whatever, the side story that was in the volume release, and also Kyuri's translated secrets. And I might forget, and if I do forget, just somebody throw it in the comments. But in the description, I think I'm going to put that link there as well, so that if you guys want to see it, you can see the side story and secrets page as well. So yeah, I'll try to remember to put that in the description, and that is it this week for Monmusu. Next up, we got some Attack on Titan comments. Well, again, for the third section in a row, one Attack on Titan comment. And that comment is by Seek210, who said, I'm loving this season as well, and I agree with the whole survival mode that they've had to go through so far, and Reiner is super strong just to carry that Titan while his arm's being bitten. I did love the interactions between Ymir and Reiner, and it seems kind of like Ymir is hiding something aside from how it was revealed that she can transform into a Titan. For me, I really love the feeling of Season 2 so much more than Season 1. Like, I've seen other people say the same thing, where it's like, season 1 is one thing. It's the daytime, they're fighting against giants and whatever. It's really high-paced action stuff. Well, like I said in the review, 1 or 2 episodes of high-paced action stuff, and then a bunch of really boring, slow stuff. And yes, I have rewatched the series recently, so I can say that there are a lot of episodes where essentially nothing happens and it's really slow and boring. The pacing in season 1 wasn't all that great, which is actually why I'm thinking that season 2, only having 12 or 13 episodes, might actually work out pretty well. It could actually help the pacing and give us a better product overall. But I love the feeling, whether instead of... There was some hopeless horror kind of feeling when they're fighting giants during the day and they're mostly getting killed off and stuff. But it's just so much creepier when it's, I don't know, at night, that dark castle setting, or out in the wilderness of Maria, is it? Or no? Is it Rose Maria Sina? Or Maria Rose Sina? Either way, I think it might be that they're in Walrose. I don't remember what the concentricity of the walls was. But yeah, you get what I mean. Just out in the wilderness there, at the ruined castle and everything, having to fight without the gear and just not even really fight, just try to survive, that whole aspect just makes it so much creepier, so much more tense. It makes it feel so much heavier and harder for the characters to survive in, and I like that feeling a lot more than the feeling season 1 had. Also, something else, since you brought up the Reiner thing, a bunch of people, they were saying, oh, how can you lift a Titan, or whoa, what is this? I feel like a lot of people had forgotten, just reading different comments and stuff on different videos, that we were shown in season 1 actually that Titans are unbelievably lightweight for their size, because traditionally something that big, if it was the same like weight to body size ratio of a human, it wouldn't be able to stand on 2 legs. If it was like something that big, if it weighed the same for its size that a human weighed for what it would be converted up to that size, you get what I'm saying. Yeah, its legs would collapse. It would not be able to walk on 2 legs. So Titans are actually incredibly lightweight. And that explains... It would be difficult for Reiner to lift one up like that, but it makes it definitely reasonable knowing that they're not really that heavy. Then also, Ymir as a character, I just really, really love Ymir. And that'd be it this week for Attack on Titan. Next up, we have some One Piece to discuss. And first up for One Piece is Seek210, who said, it was a great chapter, and once again, Brook being the MVP of the whole arc by destroying the picture. I also loved Jinbei as well, and how he stood up to Big Mom, and how he told her he's leaving her crew. One thing to note is that since the news guy is there, I'm sure everyone's bounty is going to go up once the arc ends, and everything that happened there is made known. I agree. Since the first bounty update, if you remember it, the first bounty update was like all of the people in Dressrosa went up compared to what they did, and then everybody else that wasn't with them went up by, I think it was 50 mil, except for Sanji got the 100 mil boost and the Only Alive because he was a special case. I think a similar thing's going to happen after Whole Cake, where the bounties are going to go up according to what the people in Whole Cake had done, and then for the characters that are over in Wano right now, all of them would, their bounties would go up as well, maybe by a set amount, but I think that it'd be interesting, and I kind of predict that one of 2 things might happen. They might add a lot to one of the characters that have been off screen in Wano. They might add a lot to one of their bounties, so that we're left as fans wondering, oh my gosh, what did they do? We need to get back to that character and see what they did to get their bounty boosted up that much. Or one of them could not have their bounty in the paper, and we would be like, oh my gosh, were they captured? What happened to them? So I think that either one of those could be a good surprise to have, and I see Oda throwing something like that in there, since he did it with the Dressrosa stuff, and because it fits in the story. Then also, I would like to see when we get the new bounties, if throw in Jinbei's bounty poster there, because we know Jinbei's got to be joining the crew for sure, unless he dies, and a lot of people are still seeing it, but I don't really see Jinbei dying. My personal opinion, I would also like to see Pedro or Carrot join permanently and have one of them have their bounty posters added to the Straw Hats. I honestly still say Carrot, though. I think the way that I would write this, and I think the best way Oda could write this, and I hope he does, would be something along the lines of, we've seen Pedro is a successful pirate, a very good pirate captain and everything, really cared about his crew, was good at being a lookout and everything, and we've seen Carrot follow him around and work as a lookout and everything. Carrot, of course, has great combat ability. She's the one that took out all of Brulee's gang and Chopper went Monster Point and friggin' German suplex the crocodile guy, Sir Croc or whatever he was, Sir Gator or something like that. But yeah, so my argument is that Carrot for Straw Hat needs to happen. I think that it'd be such a good way to write things if Oda had Pedro. We know that he's about to die. He doesn't have much time left. Pedro starts dying and Carrot decides, I wanted to go on this big adventure and stuff. I'm a painter, I'm a scout and everything. Pedro was a scout. I could carry on, and Pedro was wanting to carry the Straw Hats into the new generation or whatever. He had that speech he gave to Tamago. I think it'd be so good if Carrot was I'm going to travel with the Straw Hats and be part of this next generation and carry on Pedro's will or something. I think that would just be such a good way to write this. And Oda, get on this. You really need to have this happen. Then I guess that's it. Jinbei for sure should be added, Carrot should be, and I think their bounties are going up at the end of the arc. Seek 210 also said, I think the polls for the new character popularity poll, Reiju might be on top along with Carrot, Cracker, Vito, and Nekomamushi. I do hope that Brook gets to be on top too, since he has some of the best character development this whole arc. For me, I talked about it a bit last week, but I think that Reiju and Cracker are going to do pretty well. I think Reiju will do more well than Cracker. I think that I don't really think that he's going to do well, but I hope Vito does well because I really like Vito personally. I think Pedro will be doing well too, since he's got a decent fan base. He is carrying on with the Straw Hats this arc, had a pretty good role this arc, and he's a new character, so I think that'll put him up there a bit. Carrot, I think, will likely do very well. She's a cute rabbit girl. She's part of the main team this arc, has had a lot of screen time and is a new character, so I just think she's going to be relatively high up. And then for the new character that I think is going to make the highest debut, the biggest number in their first bowl, I think it was Bartolomeo last time, but I think it'll either be Jack or Nekomamushi. Probably Nekomamushi, because Jack has a really big fan base, at least in the international community from what I've seen in English, and Nekomamushi just had a huge fan base. And I think that, if anything, and Nekomamushi was popular in Japan as well, I think Nekomamushi is probably going to have the highest ranking for a new character coming in. And then as for characters that have been with us for a while, I think that Peckham's will probably move up a little. Sanji might move up a little, maybe. Or maybe all these other characters moving up might actually make Sanji go down a bit. And ones I think that are gonna go up a good bit are Jinbei and Brook. I think Jinbei and Brook are going to get a lot of fan popularity going up, especially since they've just both been really great this arc. East 1860 said about the anime, weren't the long reaction shots way more drawn out in 784? Maybe it's because the entire episode took place on the Thousand Sunny, but 784 felt way more drawn out to me than 785. For example, the scene where Reiju came flying down and all the Straw Hats are crying over Luffy, I just felt that 785 gave us a bit more. Also, the ending where they arrive at Cacao Island was very well done in my opinion. Regardless, based on the preview, I'm really looking forward to next episode. For me, I do remember a few seconds of still frame reactions at the end of 784, but sadly, One Piece ends nearly every episode like that, of something happens, we get a few static still frame reaction shots, and then to be continued, almost every episode. So, of course, they really shouldn't do that every episode, but them doing that every episode has made me not quite care about it as much when they did it for the end of 784. And the problem with 785 is that the still frames weren't at the end or anything. They were just throughout the episode and a lot in the middle of the episode, and the time they took up was minutes. It was like an actual significant percentage of the episode, and that's pretty ridiculous. But for 785, like you said, I do really like the way they ended it, what they did with Cacao Island and everything. I like the ending a lot of 785. Then lastly for One Piece this week, White Bear Beppo said, I've grown to like the color and designs of the Vin Smokes. It gives them more presence. I still think Reiju's poison power is still technology, and Reiju's mouth game dough. I always feel so bad because whenever I'm negative about something, I know a bunch of people are going to fire back, no, don't be negative about this, blah, 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 whatever. But man, I still hate the Vin Smoke color scheme. It is just so bad. Like, I don't even feel like it's an opinion type of thing. Like, you can like it or dislike it, it's perfectly fine. But when it comes to objectively good or bad character design traits, it's just such a terrible decision. I don't know who made this decision, why Oda and everybody else was okay with it. If Oda made the decision himself, why did nobody tell him it's a horrible decision? God, their color scheme is just terrible. Like, it's like Oda had everything in place, everything lined up to create awesome, memorable characters. He had Reiju, who could be like this badass, older, future, like female Sanji type of character. You had Yonji, who was similar to Sanji but had a different hairstyle. Like, just could you imagine, even if their clothes had the different color schemes, if they all just had the blonde hair like Sanji, and they just looked like Sanji but with different facial structures and hairstyles, that would be so much cooler. And instead, he just kind of screwed up all the stuff he had lined up with their colors like the Power Rangers. And, it's not good character design work at all. Like that, and the designs were great before we got that color scheme. And then once we got the color scheme, all that went out the window and they just started looking really bad. But ending on a negative note with the One Piece discussion, yeah, sorry about that. Next up is our Tower of God section, and first comment here is by Jike Arch, who said, I really want Hackney to join Bomb's team. Siu has set him up very well. Like, Hackney believes he doesn't have friends, and on the other side, Bomb wants to make friends, and Hackney's one of the people whose eyes have witnessed Enryu. He has a lot of secrets with his paintings and his soul and all. So many facts are leading to him joining Bomb. Maybe not right after the Floor of Death, but in the future I could see Hackney and Bomb in the same team. I agree. I think Hackney will join eventually with Bomb, but I think for him that he might just continue with Bomb directly after the Floor of Death. Like somebody else brought up, Mata could maybe sacrifice himself to help push Hackney even more into continuing on with Bomb, but all the setup Siu's given him, I think he could be a part of Bomb's team for sure. Just like, I think, even if he doesn't join right after the Floor of Death like you brought up, there are characters that didn't join right after that I could see joining, like Elaine, or Kaiser, either way. With Elaine, I could see her coming back and joining Bomb 100%. I could see that happening. I even think it probably will happen at some point. I don't think we've seen the last of Elaine. And of course we haven't seen the last of, say, Chang and Quattro. They're going to come back eventually. Dan, Ron, Novik, Jaja, that team's going to be back eventually. Ship Lisu's team will be back eventually. I'm assuming that we'll see Kasano and... if Kasano and Horyang show up together at some point, that's going to be really, really cool. Just the two of them show up together and stuff. I don't know, even though they have their issues between the two of them, it's going to be cool. When Rak shows back up, it's going to be awesome. Yiwan, Danhua, we still don't know where they are. A lot of characters that are gone right now that we're going to see probably join up with us at some point or another. Gideon Ba says, what do you think is the difference in power between the top 4 rankers and the other rankers? Because Karaka was scary, but Yurik makes him look like a small boy. And the best way I can describe this, let's try to describe this. I think it's like, have you guys ever played a game where it's like there's no level or stat cap or whatever, and it has a leaderboard? Because if you do, it's kind of like that, where people all start out at the same level at the bottom, they get stronger and stronger, but the higher up you go to the stronger and stronger people, the further the gap between them, because there's less people up there, you have to do more to pass the next person. So I think it's like this. Phantominium, totally godlike, can essentially do anything. Enryu cannot essentially do anything. He's not a complete god, but he is so unbelievably strong that he can just waltz in, just demolish, smash even guardians, and do what he wants. He's not a complete god that can just make anything happen, but he is just strong beyond belief. And there's a gap there between Phantominium and Enryu, and then the gap's a little bit smaller going next down to Zahard and Yurik, who the way they've portrayed Zahard and Yurik, I feel like the two of them might actually be kind of close in power. I mean, of course not everything's going to be like some equal mathematic formula. I think they're actually going to be kind of close in power. Zahard may be still a little bit stronger than Yurik, but I feel like it's one of those things where we'll never really know. And I think the two of them are at the level where it's like imagining the strongest somebody can possibly be within the logic of the tower. And Enryu's even stronger than that, and Phantominium's essentially a god. And as you go down the list, say Adiehone is quite a bit weaker than Zahard and Yurik, and then Kun Edwan's a little bit closer, but still like a little bit closer, but still pretty far down from there. Then next up would be Adori Zahard, and then Bakryun, I think, and so on and so forth, until the further you go down, the closer the gap would be between the two of them, until eventually, like, once you get past the high rankers and into the rankers, the strongest rankers would probably all be around the same power level, the weakest rankers would probably all be around the same power level. Like I said, the further down you go in power, the closer the gap between them. Next up, I feel like I actually explained that pretty well. I feel pretty good about that one. Venersa said maybe Karaka's actually relatively weak like Wang Nim, but's able to control a super OP puppet. And I'm gonna say I would not say weak, because if Karaka can use puppets, let's say that's the ability, if he can use a puppet that's strong enough to tank Yuri's full power 1v1, or actually not even 1v1 really, 1v2 with Evan in there as well. So if he can control the puppet strong enough to do that, I would think that's a pretty awesome power. And I certainly think that'd make Karaka pretty strong. And I even think Wangnan has potential to be really OP and strong. It's just that he has some sort of secret or hidden power, and he just hasn't gone through whatever he needs to unlock that power, and eventually we'll have a storyline where Wangnan unlocks the power and does something really cool, or something like that. Even though I like where Wangnan is, where he's not really physically strong, but he has like a strength of will type character. Sort of like, it's like there's Wangnan, who's like this strength of will type character, and Kun, who's like this strength of the mind type character, and then Shipley Sue's in the middle of that, where he's not, well, I mean, he's almost as smart as Kun, I'd say. He's pretty damn smart, but he's not like as smart as Kun, but he's got like this really strong willpower thing going on. So yeah, I think Wangnan could be pretty OP in the future, and I think Karaka's pretty damn strong. Big Will 1919 said, I bet all the Slayers have weird, hard-to-kill abilities. Maybe that's why Jinsung isn't one. That would make sense, but for me, and I've said this before, kind of, I don't think that that's the deciding factor. I think the deciding factor in being a Slayer is that since the Slayers are supposed to be 11 people, one to kill Zahard, one to kill each of the 10 family heads, I think that to be a Slayer, you have to have a way to overcome the immortality spell. And we've learned recently that spells, even spells by Guardians, can be overcome with a power that can specifically do that. So I think what you need to be a Slayer is you've got to have an ability that lets you be able to kill Zahard or a 10 family head. For example, Bomb isn't a Slayer, but he's a Slayer candidate. Bomb's an irregular. He's got the, the black hole sphere, whatever. I'd say that power would allow him to kill an immortal. We've seen him do it. Probably can break the spell. and possibly kills the Heart of the Ten Family Heads. Grace Marche Lizlek is from the Grace family and is one of the strongest people in the tower overall, so I would say probably has some way to kill one of them. Karaka has whatever power comes with the Zahard Ring. The Zahard Ring is still mysterious, we don't know what's going on with it, but I'd say it comes with some sort of special power, and that special power probably gives him the ability to break that immortality thing. White has the Cursed Soul spells, and we already saw that the devil that taught him about the Cursed Soul spells told him it would allow him to surpass Arie Hone, so yeah, that Joaquin has that ability. Then of course, we don't really know anything about Amort yet other than his name, but we can assume he has an ability as well. And then the only other one we've heard of is Baylord Yama, and since Baylord Yama was the one that sort of started the whole blood fusion thing in the Bay Road, I'm assuming that he found a way to use blood fusion to surpass immortality. Like, when I see Baylord, I imagine that he just, like, found some way to inject all kinds of different bloodlines in his body so that he's got, like, this mix of a bunch of different 10 family techniques and something. Like, if Siu doesn't use the blood fusion with Baylord Yama to make him a badass like that, then I don't even know what he's doing, because he has everything set up there, which is why I think Siu's going to do it that way, because he's already set that up. And that would be why I guess Jinsu couldn't really Jinsung. That would be why I think Jinsung couldn't really become a Slayer, because even if he's stronger than some of the Slayers, and from what we know, he's probably stronger than Karaki, he's probably stronger than some of the Slayers, no matter how strong he is, he can't kill one of the Immortals. He doesn't have a way to do that, and that's why he couldn't be a Slayer. So yeah, again, another one in a row I thought I discussed pretty well. Anime Watcher said, "Please tell me, Haku, that Urik is moving up your favorite characters list, because he's sure moving up mine. He's at 4th place, but he might move up to 3rd if he keeps this up. I'm interested at what the top 2 are. Probably like Bam and Kun or something, or Wangnan, or Andrassi's a popular one." But either way, continuing on, they said, "I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't get to see what Karaka looks like, but I'm used to Siu's trolls and have gotten used to it." Yeah. Though I'm not sure if Siu can make Karaka strong now. We keep saying that Karaka's strong, but we keep seeing him be outmatched by stronger opponents. The hype doesn't score it for Karaka now. Even the casuals are starting to think that Bomb can defeat Karaka now. Unbelievable. For me, starting off at the beginning of that train of thought, Yurik, Karaka, and Heljo, all 3 are moving up in my favorite characters. Yurik being super strong doesn't really make him move up, because, I mean, woo, he's super strong. But his connection with Heljo is really, really interesting to me. I love his connection with Ryun as well, but we haven't really gotten into that yet. But his connection with Heljo, to me, I'm really excited to learn more about that. That interests me a lot, and makes him move up a lot in my eyes. Karaka's moving up a ton. I like all the attention being given to Karaka, and Heljo's just awesome. I like Heljo a lot. Just off the top of my head, though, some of my favorite characters that have been in the series overall, of course I like Bomb. I think he's a great protagonist. I like Rack a lot as well. I would say the 3 that come to my mind as favorites right now are Joaquin. I think he's a genius antagonist. He's a really good villain, and Siu has set up all this stuff for him to make a good guy turn, or maybe not a good guy turn, but at least like make a turn against the other bad guys. So Joaquin is just a really complex and interesting character. We've seen his backstory and everything, just added a lot of complexity to him. Daniel's story is one of the best in the series. It's one of the series that actually hit me the most. I really love Daniel as a character. And then Elaine would be the other one I'd put in those top 3. I loved Elaine's backstory. I think that it surpassed Anax being my favorite backstory in Tower of God. And just Elaine's design, her powers, she is just such a cool character. So yeah, Joaquin, Elaine, Daniel, and to round out the top 5, I'd still say Anak is up there, and Ed and Dan. Dan is still a character that I really, really enjoy. That's just off the top of my head, though, so I could be forgetting some characters that I really love. But just off the top of my head, I'd say that's my top 5. Augustine Grace, nice surname there, said, I bet the only reason Yurik isn't captain of Wall Song is because he hates the boring leader role. My theory on the Red Thrissa is that maybe it's a baby guardian, like the baby of the guardian Enryu killed, maybe. I agree about, I forgot to even address the baby guardian thing. Yeah, I think that, when I answered you in the comments, but, yeah, I really think that that's a possibility. Maybe, maybe not. I think that's a good theory. It's the first time I've heard it, but yeah, like you said, it's probably out there. But yeah, I think that's a cool, interesting theory. But for Yurik not being the captain, I agree there. I think that I was wondering what his place in Wall Song was going to be, because I didn't know if he just helped found it and then he just sort of hung out and didn't have an actual position or something, but I knew he wasn't like really the leader unless he was like a co-leader. But I would say he's vice captain, kind of like you said, because he doesn't want to be in the leader role. But I think it's more than that, because even though he's stronger than Baekryun is a better leader. And that's not even, just don't even forget that Baekryun is still one of like the absolute strongest people ever. He is 9th in the tower, I think, and he's the strongest wave controller in history. Baekryun is incredibly, incredibly strong. Not even that much weaker than Yurik, I guess, if he's that strong. But he's probably a better leader than Yurik, even if Yurik is stronger. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. And then lastly, for this week's Tower of God section, Jike Arch said, it's good news that CU gave Yurik the silver anklet so that he can only use 5% of his power, so that we may not get to see Yurik go all out. And yeah, I think it's a bit too early to have Yurik go all out and stuff. Save some stuff for later in the series. But I think that once Garam sees him and knows he's there, since he's moving to that same area, he's not going to have to hide anymore and he can just use more of his power. Like, I think it'll be interesting if he goes after Heljo. He's trying to keep that whole 5% thing, and Heljo's kind of womping on him a little to make us think, holy crap, Heljo is a legitimate villain, and he is like slapping Yurik Mazano around a little. This is absolute insanity. And of course the fandom would be going and saying like, holy crap, Heljo is actually slapping around Yurik. And then Garam sees him and is like, oh, you're here or whatever, and he's like, well, the jig is up, snaps off the anklet to release more than 5% of his power and just demolishes Heljo with more than 5% of his power. I think that would be an interesting way for CU to do the that fight. Or, conversely, CU could do it another way that would build up both characters. Because that's a way that would build up both characters quite well. But another way that would build them up both quite well is if Yurik was fighting him with 5%, and he wasn't getting slapped around, but he was struggling with him, and Heljo just kind of forced him to use a bit more than 5% to where it broke. That'd be another way to show that Yurik is still stronger. Yurik's an absolute beast, but it makes Heljo seem like a really important and powerful villain. It makes him seem like a real threat. So that'd just be a really good way to write it. And I think the setup's kind of there in a bit of a way. So yeah, that's it for my thoughts on some Tower of God stuff this week. Hope you enjoyed. Lastly this week is the Magical Girl Raising Project, or Mao Shoujo Week's Keikaku section. And for this one, I think it's even larger than the Tower of God section was. Maybe, perhaps. I might be a bit of a, I might be a little bit biased here, because right now, I'm excited about a lot of the series I'm watching and reading, but I think right now the series I feel like gotten most into that we're watching and reading actively for the channel is Magical Girl Raising Project. I think Boku no Hero Academia and Tower of God are up there. One Piece is up there too. One Piece has gotten really good lately. But yeah, Magical Girl Raising Project, for me, the hype is at the top, I guess because I'm moving into this new story that I haven't read yet. So yeah, let's talk about this a bit, and I'm so happy we got a good amount of comments here. Starting off, Maverick Alpha said, I'm always watching, can't wait for you to get started on the new content, thanks a ton. Like, it's always just such a good feeling when people leave comments like that they're watching or that they enjoyed it, and just that shot of good feels. Yeah, and sorry it took me quite a while to reply to that comment and everything. But I'm really, really excited to read this new content, like I said, where I don't know what's going to happen. And if the deaths are anything like the first arc, because the first arc, even though I knew what was going to happen, some of the deaths hit me a little, and I was like, damn, I'm getting a little emotional here. But I think things will actually get pretty emotional. If I'm really getting attached to characters and then just, bam, being blindsided with deaths, I think that will be some maybe even some of my most emotional videos. I don't know if those emotions will be sadness about whoever's dying or anger about whoever's dying, but there will be some emotions in there. Maverick Alpha replied, I love the first arc. I mean it in a good way when I say it, but the first arc is the low point of the series, as it's one of the few series where later arcs top the first one completely, so I can't wait for your emotional reactions then. That is such a good thing to hear, because I've also heard from other people. There was somebody else that commented that I didn't put in here because there wasn't much I could do to discuss it, that said that Restart, and I forget what they said the other one was, but they named off those two as their two favorite, and it's just so good to know that as much as I liked the first arc, that there's still good stuff to be coming, better stuff even. Andrew Zapita said, and now you're introduced to the character that we call Hair Pervert, or the Creep Lol. I said, yes, she is Hair Pervert 100%. Maverick Alpha said, everybody has fetishes, hers is just hair. The Japanese Twitter fandom tends to call her the Pervert. I remember one day when everyone in Twitter was posting fan art of her, and I just saw tweets like, just practicing drawing perverts. And I said, as a man of fetishes too numerous to count, I understand. Well, I understand sort of. Like, I understand having a fetish. I don't understand enjoying hair like that, though. Pithy Frederica can do Pithy Frederica. Maybe I was wrong about this being longer than the Tower of God section, but it is still one of the longer sections here. Either way, Maverick Alpha said, even in the first half, Frederica's such an interesting character when I was reading it. I think you understood a little why I was disappointed when the anime didn't even tease her appearance, not even a crystal ball zoom out or a silhouette. I actually think a crystal ball zoom out would be a really cool way to have done that at the end of the anime. A silhouette would have worked too. But that's how I knew her name when I was doing the read-through, and I heard Frederica, and I was like, oh, Pithy, because somebody, I don't remember if it was on my video or just on another Mao Shoujo Weeksei Keikaku video I was watching, but I had remembered people commenting and saying that they were a little bit disappointed that Pithy Frederica didn't show up any at the end of the anime at the final episode. I don't know how I remember that, though, because I had to have only read it like once in a comment section or something, and it had to be like months ago. So how I remembered just a name like Pithy from months ago, reading it in a random comment once, I don't know how I remembered it. Andrew Zapita said, you could probably remember, because nobody can forget the name of a creep that easily, even without knowing her character that much. Andrew Zapita also said, I like some details, like the fact that the hair pervert had to pay rent when she doesn't work, yet she doesn't explain how she's doing that. Though I suppose everything will be explained at some point, like the children of Clanberry or things like that. Well, I don't think the author would throw things like that without explaining to us or showing us. I'm not gonna lie, when I was reading it and I started stumbling and froze for a minute when I was doing the read-through this week and finding out about hair pervert and everything, when she was saying that she doesn't pay rent and she has to pay rent but she doesn't have a job, and she's like, she's got to do things to pay rent, but she doesn't have a job. My first thought was, oh my god, a lewd prostitution waifu. A lewd prostitute waifu. But, yeah, I was like, I stumbled a minute because I was like, she just said, man, I got bills to pay, but I don't have a job. I gotta pay those bills though. And I'm like, that just sounds so sketchy. That sounds really underground there, Pithy Frederica. Of course, that's not what I think is the actual case, but that's what kept popping into my head. So my new, what's it called? Like a fan theory? Is it headcanon? I'm not even sure what headcanon means, but I think that's what it means. My new headcanon fan theory or whatever. Pithy is a prostitute. Then also I'm really excited about the Children of Clanberry because, as you know, Clanberry was like a besto for me. I'd say she's in my top 3 favorite characters. Top waifu, but top 3 favorite characters. I'd put... Oh, I really like Snow White. And I really like Weiss Winter Prison and Top Speed and Tama. Oh my gosh, Tama was awesome. Ruler was good too. I'd say top 3 though. Clanberry, Hardcore Alice. And this isn't even the same top 3 that I had in back when I did the anime, but top 3 now after reading the light novels like Hardcore Alice, Clanberry, and Ripple. Probably my top 3 favorite characters. Just because Ripple is so cool in the light novels. I love the focus that they put on her. That I like her way, way more in the light novels than I did in the anime. In the anime, she was just kind of like alright. She was a character that was there and was like on the radar and stuff for me. But she wasn't like amazing. But in the light novel, she was really so much better. Then Andrew Zapita commented on that, lol, selling waifu. Can't deny she's a creep, so it could happen. And yeah, I'm waiting to see them too. I've read all the volumes, but I won't say any spoilers. And I want to say thank you as well for being, and for a lot of you, being really active in the comments and stuff, but not posting spoilers or anything for things I'm not caught up on or haven't read all of. Like especially, I've gotten essentially no spoilers all the time I've been reading through Boku no Hero Academia, and Mao Shoujo Weekly Keikaku is another one, and I'm really, really glad that you guys haven't been spoiling me on any of that as I've been reading it. So definitely thank you to you guys for both being active, which I love, and also staying away from spoilers. It really has been a great experience, all of my read-throughs. And yeah, that is it for this week. So either way, I suppose if you did like the video, comment down there, tell me what you thought of this week's HaQ&A. Once you thought of different things I said, whatever you want to talk about, just comment it and we'll talk about it. Real quick, I'm just going to throw it in here. I should have probably talked about it at the beginning of the video. Man, this morning I had my Boku no Hero Academia read through almost uploaded, and I had made 2 renders because I usually have to make 4 renders for the thumbnails. I had made 2 of them, and I was working on a Tsuyu render that for the 3rd one that I had to kind of do some redrawing on and stuff, which you have to do from time to time. And I was working on that. Bam, computer died, lost all my progress. Gonna take me hours to do that again tonight because I'm recording this on Wednesday. So I'm gonna have to do that tonight. That's gonna take hours. But at least I think it saved my butterfly just ran into my window and then flew back away like, oh, so confused. Yeah, hopefully it won't take that long because I think at least 2 of the renders, the first 2 I made, I did save them. But man, it's just so frustrating. I was so pissed off when it happened. My voice is starting to die on me too. I suppose subscribe if you're not already and want to for whatever else, and follow on Twitter if you want to. I'll try to keep you updated there and stuff with the channel. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.